Hi guys, I am Kushwant Kumar. Today I am going to discuss about a journal on the generation and structure and semantics of grammar patterns in source code identifiers. The authors of this journal is Christian D. Newman, Reem S. Al-Suhani Bani, Dr. Michael J. Decker, Anthony Peruma, Dishant Kaushik, Mohammad Veem, Emily Hill, and the citations of this journal is 6. There are different research questions in this journal. The first one is what are the most frequent human annotated grammar patterns and what are the semantic of these patterns. In this it contains the most frequent grammar patterns in the human annotated sets. There are 5 patterns that have frequently occurred in a data set. The most ubiquitous pattern we found was the noun phrase because as it appears in every category. And the next one is how accurately do the chosen taggers annotate grammar patterns and individual tags? In this, we compare the output of 3 part-of-speech taggers in the study with the manually annotated grammar patterns in order to calculate the accuracy of each tagger at both the level of grammar patterns and the level of individual part-of-speech tags. It refers to the explanation of how we calculate the accuracy. And coming to the third question, are there other grammar patterns that are dissimilar from the most frequent in our data but still present in multiple systems? In this, we can observe that a number of grammar patterns that were not frequent enough to be in the top, but nevertheless they appear in multiple systems. In this, we will be raising 2 questions like what are these patterns and what type of identifiers do they represent. To answer for these questions, we manually looked through the set of human annotated grammar patterns and picked patterns which occurred 2 or more times in a single category and are not similar to the patterns which will be discussed in required research questions number 1. And the next one is do grammar patterns or tagger accuracy differ across programming languages? At this level of grammar patterns, the only controlling for identifier category and programming language will be not appear to be significant difference in the grammar patterns for Java and C++ identifiers. It may be the case that significant grammar pattern appear when controlling for more co-founding factors, and we believe this would be a strong direction for the future work. And the next one is introduction. In this, we'll be studying identifiers and we'll be understanding that studying identifiers is difficulty and how to map the meaning of natural language phrases to the behavior of the code. For example, like when a developer develops a method, it should reflect the behavior of the method such that another developer need not to be read or the method body instructor set. Understanding this connection between the name and behavior presents challenges for human and tools, both of which use this relationship to comprehend generate the code. The main goal of this paper is to study the structure, semantic, diversity and generation of grammar patterns, uh, like establishing and exploring the common and diverse grammar pattern structures found in identifiers and using these structures to investigate the accuracy, strength and weakness. Another challenge we will be facing like the natural language analysis techniques themselves, many of which are not trained to be applied to software, which introduces significant threats. Like addressing these problems is vital to improve the developer experience, which leverage the natural language. The next topic is definitions and grammar pattern generation. In this, we mainly discuss about generating grammar patterns and noun, verb, and prepositional phrases. To generate any grammar patterns for identifiers in source code, we require a part of speech tagger, uh, in which it splits the identifiers into constituent terms. To split terms into an identifier, we use a spiral. Splitting approaches into one of the package, we'll be splitting approaches into the different packages. We generate these grammar patterns by running each individual tagger on each identifier after applying our splitting function. Additionally, we give examples of grammar patterns. It increases our understanding of how different grammar patterns can convey the information. And the next one is noun, verb, and prepositional phrase. In this concept, we can analyze part of speech tagger output. Specifically, we will be dealing with noun phrases, verb phrases, and prepositional phrases. In noun phrase, the sequence of noun modifiers such as a noun adjuncts and adjectives followed by a noun and optionally followed by other modifiers or prepositional phrases. We will be not expanding the abbreviations. The reason for this is the expansion techniques are not widely available that cannot be easily integrated into different languages or frameworks and cannot be readily trained or not fully or publicly implemented. A realistic worst case scenario for developers and researchers is that no abbreviation expansion technique are available to use. There are parts of which taggers must work in this worst case scenario. To be specific, we perform two different accuracy calculations for each of the tagger. And the methodology is the identifiers can come in many forms. The most common fall into the one of the five following categories like class names, function names, parameter names, and attribute names, and declaration statement. Therefore, to study grammar patterns, we group a set of identifiers based on which of these five categories like a class name based on this class function parameter and declaration statement only. And the evaluation is they explore the common and diverse grammar pattern structures found in the identifiers. These structures are used to investigate the accuracy, strength, and weakness of approaches which generate grammar patterns with an eye toward establishing and improving their current ability. Where the accuracy, strength, and weakness is good, the grammar patterns, the ability will be very high. And the grammar patterns we discovered is to discuss the ways in which words, larger identifier work together to convey the information to the developer. And the related work has different phases. The one is the rename analysis, the other one is identifier type and name generation, the other one is software ontology creation using identifier names, identifier structure, and semantic analysis. In rename analysis, the approach is to analyze and classify identifier renamings. The 68% of developers think recommending identifier names would be very useful. They also defined a catalog of anti-patterns, proposed an approach that recommends a batch of rename operations to code elements closely related to the rename the patterns. In identifier type and name generation, there are several approaches that appraise identifier names for variables, functions, and classes. The ontology that models the word relationship within a piece of software introduced a novel language model called subtoken context model. Uh, in software ontology creation using identifier names, they show that fully automated techniques based on keywords or topics have low performance, but that is a semi-automated approach can significantly improve the results. In identifier structure and semantic analysis, we discuss naming in several programming languages and makes observations about how natural language influences the use of words in the languages. It focuses on investigating the impact of more informative identifiers on code comprehension. And the conclusion and future work of the journal. These patterns are obtained directly from the observations made on a source code and provide researchers with a glimpse into how different grammar patterns are used to express different forms of program semantics. The grammar patterns presented in this study are a starting point for the creation of a taxonomy, which should be curated over time and through further research. Our direct future work includes like improving POS taggers for source code by leveraging assemble tagging, using grammar patterns in specific design and architectural patterns on a test code, uh, which is a more granular view of these patterns than presented in prior work. This dataset is available to help improve POS tagger for software and encourage the replication. We recommend future research control. We can recommend a future research control for architecture patterns, design patterns, problem domain, programming paradigm, and modernity. This is the conclusion for this topic. Thank you, everyone.